The Saudi jets destroy citizens' properties in Saada and Taiz. Health Ministry declares the state of emergency in Sana'a due to the cholera. The humanitarian coordinator in Yemen holds press conference on health situation. Good evening and welcome to Yemen Today's News. I'm Ali Nasr al-Khamri. Saudi Air Force continued its barbaric bombardment on Saada Governorate. A local source in the Governorate said that the Saudi air fighters launched 2 raids on Al-Sabhan area in Baqim Directorate, which caused serious damages to the property of citizens. And it's noteworthy that the Saudi aggression warplanes have also launched 2 raids on Majz Directorate. The Saudi jet fighters have resumed its raids on Taiz Governorate. A local source said that the aggression jets have targeted the northern of Mocha with 5 violent raids and 2 cluster bombs. Earlier, the enemy's jets have launched more than 10 raids on Yakhtal area in Mocha Directorate. The Saudi jet fighters have resumed the attacks on Al-Hudaydah Governorate. Local sources have confirmed that the Saudi warplanes have targeted Mushaj area in Al-Khouqa Directorate with 2 raids. Ministry of Public Health and Population has declared a state of emergency in the capital city of Sana'a due to the cholera epidemic that exceeded the capacity of Yemeni health system, which is burdened by the consequences of the aggression and the Saudi siege imposed on the country. Here is a report.
Due to the continuation of Saudi aggression against Yemen, Health Ministry has declared the state of emergency in the capital Sana'a, saying that the cholera epidemic exceeds the capacity of the Yemeni health system, which is burdened by the consequences of the aggression and the Saudi siege on Yemen, demanding the opening of Sana'a airport and allowing the entry of medicines. The International Committee of the Red Cross says also cholera has claimed at least 115 lives and left thousands more ill. The ministry urged humanitarian organizations and aid donors to help avert unprecedented disaster caused by the epidemic. Meanwhile, ICRC Director of Operations Dominic Stelhart said in a news conference in Sana'a that the death had occurred between April 27 and May 13.
This conflict has had dramatic direct effects. More than 8,000 people have been killed, more than 44,000 people have been wounded, and we have up to 3 million people that have been. And the conflict also has taken a very serious toll on water supply, the health system, the sanitation system, as well as the economy that is all but collapsing.
Elsewhere in his remarks, Stelhart said hospitals were filled beyond capacity with patients displaying symptoms of cholera.
The obligations of the warring parties is to ensure that basic supplies can flow into the country, okay? So we as ICRC, we have neither the power nor the responsibility to lift the siege. The siege can only be lifted by the very countries that are implementing the siege, but we are insisting with each and every party to this conflict to ensure that basic supplies, food, medicine, spare parts for water pumping stations and so on can come into the country. And this is the job that we are doing. We are doing this job in the country, but also in all the capitals of the countries that have influence on the situation here in Yemen, and we take this extremely seriously.
Over 8,500 suspected cases of the waterborne diseases were reported in the same period in 14 governorates across Yemen. The last figure are up from 2,300 cases in 10 governorates last week. The United Nations also has said that only a few medical facilities are still functioning and 2/3 of the population are without access to safe drinking water. The World Health Organization now classifies Yemen as one of the worst humanitarian emergencies in the world. Last October, the UN Health Agency announced the jam news of cholera outbreak in Yemen, and 3 weeks later, the number of cholera cases across the country soared to hundreds. Last year, nearly 130 people lost their lives due to an outbreak of cholera and acute water diarrhea in Yemen. Over 2 years of Saudi's war on the poor country has put more than half of all health facilities in Yemen in a state of a complete or partial shutdown.
The humanitarian coordinator in Yemen, Jimmy Coldrick, held a press conference in which he spoke about the health situation in the country, which witnesses a disaster due to the spread of cholera in 11 governorates and the food insecurity caused by the unjust siege. Here is a report.
The new phase of the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, that is the spread of cholera epidemic, was the main point of the press conference held by Jamie McGoldrick, the humanitarian coordinator in Yemen. Jimmy talked about the deadly ability of the epidemic, which spreads in 11 governorates, including the capital Sana'a, which is recently a disaster city. The indexes indicate the risk of the current situation compared to last year's figures, and the urgent need for integrated work to eradicate the epidemic.
And as you know, that Sana'a city has declared a state of emergency as an indication of how severe this crisis is. With all of that said, those numbers, it's very likely though that the numbers are very underrepresented, because as you know, over 50% of all the facilities of health in this country are no longer functioning. There's also, as we know, many people who don't have the means to be able to go to these health facilities, the ones that are functioning, because of lack of money available for taxi fare or bus fare. And when they get to some of these centres, there's no medicines available for them, and sometimes no staff. These numbers will increase in the weeks and months ahead.
McGoldrick stressed that the economic blockade, unfortunately, is still a paper of pressure and achieving gains on ground without paying attention to the high price paid by citizens and their suffering.
We know the situation has been like this for some time, with the economy drastically impacted by the conflict, the restrictions on imports, the closure of the Sana'a airport, and many other issues of the economy, the banking sector, and salaries not being paid have had a major impact on everybody in this country. In a country that normally imports 70 to 90% of its goods, it's of fuel, medicine and basic food items, this is a very difficult situation. We know the Al Hudaida port is a key lifeline for the humanitarians, but also for the commercial sector in this country. It's essential that that port remains open and continues to function to service the people in the country.
Yemen Today channel asked the humanitarian coordinator about the Dana conference held in Geneva in late April, which the proportion of donors covered only 18% of the urgent needs, while the amount of money needed is more than $2 billion.
At that event, we had generous pledges made by many member states. Up to $1.1 billion was announced on the day, which was a big success as well. But 3 weeks later, our funding levels are under 20%. So it's our duty, our responsibility, our obligation to the people of this country to get those pledges and promises turned into hard cash and now.
Jamie stressed that the best way to prevent famine in Yemen is to end the war, to return to the negotiating table and to hold peaceful solutions. But how long will the international community describe the solution without putting pressure on Saudi Arabia to stop hostilities and to lift the siege? Saudi aggression must quickly end.
Al-Bayda governorate is suffering of cholera epidemic as well as other governorates of Yemen, which led to humanitarian catastrophe in the country. Here is a report.
Cholera epidemic spreads more and more during continuation the Saudi aggression and unjust siege imposed on Yemen, in which worsening of the health situation in Al-Bayda governorate increased day by day through widespreading of cholera epidemics in some directorates in Al-Bayda governorate that witnesses a noticeable and scary increasing in the number of deaths and cholera patient cases. From Al-Bayda Governorate, we direct a call for help for the World Health Organization and UNICEF organization and all other humanitarian organizations to assist Al-Bayda Governorate, which witnesses a huge spreading of cholera epidemic, and we opened 4 health centers to receive the cholera epidemic suspect cases in all directorates in Al-Bayda Governorate. The first statistics of cholera epidemics recorded a huge number in deaths and patients, in which the death number of cholera in a Sharia directorate estimated with 5 cases and other 3 cases in Rada directorate. This scary number threatens a humanitarian disaster and requires the urgent intervention from the relief and humanitarian organization to stop spreading cholera epidemic. The total number of suspects of cholera epidemic cases in all directorates of Al-Bayda Governorate estimated with 207 cases, according to the first records in which a Sharia directorate recorded the higher rate of cholera epidemics that arrived to 57 suspect cases and 1 death case, and 13 cases are free of cholera epidemic. Cholera epidemic spread widely in a Sharia directorate in which the center received up till now more than 240 suspect cases of cholera epidemics and 14 cases are free of this epidemic. Precautions of combat spreading cholera are not adequate to prevent and stop worsening the health situation in the rural and urban areas in which the health sector is unable to accommodate more cholera cases due to the shortage of medical equipment and lack of medicines, and the scary spreading of these epidemics requires from the humanitarian organization to work together beside the health sector in Yemen to stop spreading cholera epidemic.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, back to the headlines. The Saudi jets destroy citizens' properties in Saada and Taiz. Health Ministry declares the state of emergency in Sana'a due to the cholera. The humanitarian coordinator in Yemen holds press conference on health situation. Thanks for watching and good night.